So today, rather than showing you something physical, I am going to be reading you something that is on the screen behind my camera. So that is why I'm going to be looking over here, and you may hear computer sounds. But the thing that I want to talk to you about today is neural networks. So some of you may know what this is and how it works. Some of you may have no clue, but basically it is a computer, like a program, that is designed to learn about things in a way similar to how people learn about things. So it's called neural, from the word neuron, which is like a brain cell. And these are sort of still in pretty simple stages. They're not really learning things that are like hugely over the top elaborate, but a lot of progress is being made very quickly. So for example, AlphaGo, for any of you who may know what AlphaGo is, AlphaGo was basically a computer machine learning kind of thing. Admittedly, I'm no expert myself, so this is just based off of my layman's understanding of what it is. But it learned how to play the game Go, and did really well, beat, I don't remember if they were like the best Go players or just people who were really, really good, but basically, yeah, they managed to teach a computer to play Go, which is amazing. More of you may be familiar with Deep Blue, the computer that learned how to play chess. This is not that. The computer that learned how to play chess did so by imagining every possible outcome. Think of it like one of those flowchart trees that shows you every possible ending kind of thing. And steering its moves towards the ones where it wins. This is not what AlphaGo did. AlphaGo learned by, I believe, watching real matches between humans. This is generally the way that neural networks learn, is by watching and observing and noticing patterns. So, another example of this is a neural network that was trained to play various games on the Atari, the sort of old school video game systems, by watching other people go through the games and, sort of learning things like, okay, every time Mario runs into a Goomba, he dies, so I need to not do that. Oh, but when he jumps onto the Goomba, it kills the Goomba. That sounds, that's a good thing. That's a thing I can use to jump onto higher blocks, for example. Now, neural nets have also been used to, with art and photography. So, if any of you are familiar with Google Deep Dream, which sort of makes pictures really trippy and like dogs appear out of your hair and stuff like that, this is like very, very early on in trying to get neural networks to do interesting things with pictures. But from that came deep art, which I cannot remember the name of the app, but there are various apps that do stuff like this, where you take a picture and you choose like an art style, and it'll turn the picture, it'll sort of convert it into that art style. So you can take a landscape picture and show it. Art by Vincent van Gogh is a really good example. He has a very distinctive art style, and it'll make it look like as if Vincent van Gogh himself painted that, picture of the spaghetti you ate for dinner, or whatever it is. You can turn a selfie of yourself into something that looks more like something Picasso would have painted. So it does really interesting things with visuals as well. And then there's Face App, which gained popularity popularity because it can make you look older or younger, or more masculine or feminine. There was also, it was trained on, I believe, pictures of like supermodels to make you look more hot. And so there was a hot button, but I believe I remember hearing about it being taken down. Now I haven't used this app myself in a long time, so I don't know if it's back or if it's still gone. But the problem is, since it was trained on pictures of supermodels, most of the supermodels it was trained on were white and light-skinned. So oftentimes, part of it making you hot would mean making your skin lighter. So, and this has nothing to do with how it was programmed, and everything to do with the selection, where if you take pictures of supermodels, they are overwhelmingly going to be light-skinned. So there are problems with the way that neural nets are trained, you know. There was, I believe she was called Tay, the Twitter AI, who was a neural net whose tweets were trained on tweets that were sent to her, and she was very quickly taken down because people would troll her, essentially, send her all these racist tweets. And so, like this is a basic problem with neural networks. But the most interesting one that I found yet, and I haven't found places where this is publicly available to use yourself, but I did find a study called Generating Topical Poetry. So of course poetry would appeal to me. I mean, half my channel is poetry, but I thought it would be interesting to read to you guys some poetry generated by neural networks. So first, let me go through this and explain how this is done and how a computer could write poetry anyway. Okay, so here I'm going to read the abstract. We describe Hafez, I think that's how you say it, but I don't know, a program that generates any number of distinct poems on a user-supplied topic. Poems obey rhythmic and rhyme constraints. We describe the poetry generation algorithm, give experimental data concerning its parameters, and show its generality with respect to language and poetic form. So I'm just going to scroll through this and sort of summarize it, but I can, link in the description for the full study if you guys are interested in reading it. Okay, so basically the way this works is you choose a word that is the topic. So there's a figure that shows a flowchart here on the first page, and I'm just going to, the example here they choose is wedding. So based on this, it chooses related words. It sort of ranks how related they are. So like clearly the word wedding is very related to the word wedding. Other words include bride, wedding ceremony, and couples. From these words, it selects rhyme pairs. So, for example, matrimony and ceremony, or feast and beast, which I don't think beast is very related to weddings, but anyway. Then it says it makes a finite state acceptor, which seems to include stitching these related words together. I imagine in a very similar way to how autocorrect and autocomplete will sort of do the predictive text thing. Although I don't know exactly how those algorithms work. It seems to be something similar to this. So it sort of the word the, able, about, being stitched together. So, and then it extracts a fluent sort of paragraph. So what this came up with is, the greatest gift of holy matrimony, declare an order from a wedding feast, or open up a wedding ceremony, and hail the Son of God and kill the beast. So, this doesn't quite make sense as a thing on its own. I think it's sort of beast is what it came up with that rhymed with feast. But this could be an interesting wedding prompt, or it could be about, I could see this as being like the story of a wedding in Greek mythology or something. So, let's scroll down. And it also has a sense of meter, specifically like iambic pentameter, and here it is coded as zeros and ones. Very clever, because that's kind of how computers think, where the stress syllable is the 1 and the not stress syllable is the 0. So, attending on his golden pilgrimage is the line they give as an example. And you can do this, it does this by breaking down individual words like this. So, attending works like that, which means that after that word, it must follow with something stressed, so on. Pretty similar to what I know from how people will sort of think of, poetry and write in iambic pentameter. I remember in high school being instructed to write Shakespearean sonnets in English class and sort of thinking about it this way. So it's interesting to see a computer think about it the same way. Alright, so each word has the stress pattern, the rhyme class, which is complicated and kind of gets into linguistics, so I'm not gonna talk too much about that, and has some idea of the slant rhyme. So like ceremony and matrimony, feast and beast are pretty spot on, but this allows it to use rhymes that are not quite, not seeing examples of slant rhyme here, but if any show up in the example poems, I will point that out. Alright, I'm just gonna skip ahead to whereas the example poems. So the first sample poem the topic was bipolar disorder. And again, all this says, the only thing that this says about bipolar disorder is what words and phrases are commonly associated with bipolar disorder. I'm not saying this is what bipolar disorder is like. This is just the example poem that was provided in the study. Okay. So, bipolar disorder. Existence enters your entire nation. A twisted mind reveals becoming manic. An endless modern ending medication. Another rotten soul becomes dynamic. Or under pressure on genetic tests, surrounded by controlling my depression, and only human torture never rests. Or maybe you expect an easy lesson, or something from the cancer heart disease, and I consider you a friend of mine. Without a little sign of judgment, please deliver me across the borderline. An altered state of manic episodes, a journey through the long and winding roads. So you can see how this sounds poetic, and definitely talks about bipolar disorder, but doesn't actually make any statements. But this is definitely progress. And poetry is kind of a wibbly enough genre that this is pretty good. I wish I remembered more about this, but I remember a TED Talk where computer-generated poetry was put alongside poetry written by people. And the result, and, test subjects were asked to guess which ones were written by people and which ones were written by AI. And overwhelmingly, people were able to point out which ones were generated by AI. But there were a few poems written by people that subjects thought were written by AI. In particular, poetry written by Gertrude Stein, which is hilarious, and she's kind of known for strange poetry. So I don't actually think, if you were to read this, or I should say, if you were to listen to it out of context, at a poetry reading, you might come out of it thinking, yeah, that's pretty interesting, even though it doesn't actually say very much. But admittedly, poetry is such an emotional thing that it's going to be very hard to train a computer to write poetry that hits you emotionally the way that a poem written by a human might. Okay, let's see. Here are a few individual stanzas. So here is one based off of the phrase, "Love at first sight." An early morning on a rainy night, relax and make the other people happy, or maybe get a little out of sight and wander down the streets of Cincinnati. See, this doesn't quite make sense. Okay. Here's one called Noodles. The people want to drink spaghetti alla and maybe eat a lot of other crackers or sit around and talk about the salsa. A little bit of nothing really matters. I really like the line, "a little bit of nothing really matters." It doesn't make sense, but it sounds impactful, and it sounds like a good ending to a poem, but the rest of the poem is about food. Okay. Here is one that the topic was Civil War. Creating new entire revolution, an endless nation on eternal war, united as a peaceful resolution, or not exist together anymore. So that one seems a little more on topic than the other. The idea of to unite peacefully or just not exist together anymore. But you can kind of see how it's like slightly off enough, just uncanny valley enough that you can tell it wasn't written by a human. Okay, let me see, are there any other? There is a Spanish poem here. And I'm not fluent in Spanish. I know a little bit. So this one's called Mariposa, which means butterfly. But I think maybe reading the Spanish one, to those of us who don't speak Spanish, maybe it'll be easier to see how, if the English ones kind of had you no, that's not poetic, that's not pretty. How you can listen to this and it sounds like a poem. It sounds like this is still a sonnet, or soneta. So yeah, I'll read it out loud, and for those of you who do speak Spanish, I am sorry, both about having to listen to poetry that's probably going to sound much nicer to everyone else, and also because I might butcher the pronunciation of some things. I haven't taken Spanish in almost 10 years now, so. Okay, Mariposa. ¿Quieres saber dónde está el escorpión? Ni ayer ni antes vos sos corona dorada. Ya os ves más tal cual tortuga pintada. A él no nos gusta andar con cola marrón. Ella es quien son las alas de algún gorrión. Si al fin podés ver tu imagen manchada, o hoy vas bajo un cielo azul plateada, porque estás tan lejos del aguijón. No hay luz que al sol se enreda en tus palmeras. Ay, porque eres víbora venenosa, sin querer igual a un enredadera. Y si aún sueñas con ser mariposa, en vez de abrir los ojos y espera, sabes muy bien que el amor no es gran cosa. So yeah, I didn't really know what most of that meant. Something about, let me see, dreams and butterflies and eyes and blue and like a crown or a head. I think gold crown specifically. Maybe a scorpion, if that's what escorpion meant. Anyway, that was quite pretty, but probably didn't mean very much. And some of those words, I don't know where they got, like, scorpion from butterfly. I mean, I guess they're probably related, biologically speaking, but I don't know. A lot of this seems random to me. So, yeah. At the end here it says, "We hope that future work will provide more discourse structure and function to automatic poetry while maintaining the syntax, semantics, and creative phrasing we observe." So yeah, so far this seems to be pretty good at generating like sonnet style poetry. I think that structure is really helpful to the way that like computer brains work. I don't know how good this would be at writing, slam poetry or blank verse or free verse. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as this develops, and hopefully there will be like an app or a website where you can run through with your own poetry ideas. That'd be pretty exciting. Alright, hope you learned something today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.